Everybody, yes. Everybody, yes.
I wonder about queer random
Yes.
things. Discussing with you, yeah. Let's talk about it. Oh shit, I'm in the frame.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another rip-roaring, exciting, ecstatic, fantastic, and incredible episode of Nobody Asked with Maria.
Well, hello.
And me.
This feels
Well, hello, Colin. Today,
loud.
we'll be discussing such topics as the bill, Eleanor Roosevelt's bill. We're very topical today. Breaking news type stuff. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Do you want me to say it? You're really struggling.
Eleanor Roosevelt's Bill of Universal Human Rights. Was that
There
it?
you go. Close
I
enough.
got it. You know, it's that kind of energy. The concept of universal rights. With a loose tie-in to what we've been talking about the last two episodes, including the emergency episode yesterday. If you didn't see it, balls to you. Don't know what to tell you. But yes, that's what we'll be discussing. Hey guys. Hey
Hello.
Maria and Colin.
We're happy to have
Hello.
you guys here with us as we be ridiculous, but discuss important things.
Important things. That's us. That's what we do. Shout out to the Rocky Mountain Vibes. Do you want to introduce the first and only topic?
I would. So I would like to talk about.
I'm just kidding. I've done a bit of a joke here, and I have cut you off for comedic effect because today we are sponsored by SeatGeek.
Is that a thing? What is? Isn't it?
Are we actually sponsored by SeatGeek? Is what you're asking?
No, I just didn't know what SeatGeek was.
Oh, you don't know what SeatGeek is? Well, let me tell you. Let me read all of this copy that I've been given for SeatGeek, a very real sponsor who has contacted us and who has said, we will pay you for the 8 viewers that you get. And we said, hot damn. SeatGeek is an incredible platform on which you can get tickets to various shows around the country. Shows including musicals, concerts, comedy shows, rallies for fascist leaders that want to take away your rights, anything you want. And we
what about
promise.
Drag brunch? Can I get one for a drag brunch?
Well, yes. Not in my copy, but yes. And we give you the SeatGeek guarantee is that if your show is canceled or moved, we will not respond to your email. When you're like, hey, but I paid for this thing and I didn't get it, we'll go, but we'll keep taking other people's money. Also, our fees suck, but we have an innovative system where you can see the map of the seats, and we'll tell you whether or not it's a good deal or not based on our 10-point rating system. And then you'll know whether or not you get a good deal on your ticket that you bought and that you won't receive. SeatGeek. Use code WeSuck at checkout.
It sounds like we had a similar day, only different.
What happened in your day?
Well, I got a stupid email from FAFSA saying, hey, we see you didn't finish your FAFSA application. But also the day before, an email that said, hey, you've completed your FAFSA application. So I'm like, yo, you sent me 2 of these emails. What's going on? And then, they're like, so did you maybe fill out 2? I'm like, who the hell knows? Your website is very difficult to use. You keep sending me to the beginning. I very well may have filled out more than one. I don't know. Okay, well, can you email me? There should have been a stupid 4-digit number on your email. Send me that number and then we'll see what we can do. I'm like, why do you think there's a number here? There's no number. Oh, well, if there's no number, we can't help you. And I'm like, well, thank you for wasting my time. Please let whoever needs to know that they can eat a bag of dicks. To which they then responded, that is unacceptable language.
They responded that?
Yes. And then they ended the chat.
Well, That's pretty good. Speaking as
These are my
somebody that
stories.
worked for an organization that sent those emails out, they don't know what the hell is going on, not even a little. So, you know, wait, my SeatGeek experience, and this is very important to human rights. My SeatGeek experience was Brockhampton, my favorite band. We got tickets to sit in general admission for their tour, and then they broke up as a band, which makes it
Ooh.
pretty hard to see them. So canceled the tour and assured that everyone would get refunds. And SeatGeek reached out to us and was like, "Okay, we'll give you a voucher for SeatGeek credit." And we were like, "No, that's not what a refund is." And then they said, "Well, what if we give you 115% of the value in a voucher?" And I said, "Nope, still don't think that's what we want." Then they gave us 140%, and we said, "Okay." And
Ah.
we took the voucher and we read none of the fine print, and then we bought tickets. They can eat a whole truckload of dicks, is what I think. We bought tickets to see Tom Segura, and the cost of the tickets was maybe 80% of the value of the vouchers, but they only work for one purchase. So we lost the value of the vouchers because it's not a gift card. It's not like you have the remaining balance. You get the vouchers for one purchase, and if you don't use the whole value, you lose the voucher.
What a bunch of dick holes.
What a bunch of dickholes, dude. What a bunch of dickholes.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. This is
Should have got.
unacceptable.
You should have got better seats, I guess.
That's fact. Well, what are you going to do? Let's talk about human rights.
Your rights to your money, your seats, your vouchers, your
So,
FAFSA forms. I don't know.
exactly. So, enlighten me. I've never thought about rights before. What are
No.
they? What's a right?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I'm going to lean on Eleanor Roosevelt personally. She seems like she was a pretty rad lady back in her day. So after World War II, so her husband was president during World War II, during much of it. And after World War II, there was this need to create the United Nations in the hopes that there would never be a war of that scale again. And so the UN was created, and Eleanor Roosevelt was the US's first delegate, and she helped to create this Declaration of Rights. It's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was, ratified by the United Nations, but also at the very same time, it has no real power or authority, but it is the backbone for civil rights in, nations across the globe. This is the backbone by which we measure your rights and your freedoms and all that jazz.
Yep.
So that's your basic background. I think I sent you a link that had them all up, right?
Yep, I've got all of them, but that doesn't speak so much to what a right is as to what this list is, right?
Oh, it is. Oh, you have a definition of an actual right? Oh, okay.
I can. What are rights? Human rights are rights that are inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. They include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion. Essentially, they're things that you as a human deserve by virtue of being human, and which can be expected by you for no cost other than being alive, right? You should expect treatment like this. And if you are not receiving treatment that aligns with these universal rights, then some sort of an injustice is occurring for sure, is kind of the general idea.
Yes, there's certain dignities and dignities and rights that you are born with, regardless of any number of things. Where you were born, what you look like, yada yada yada, what you believe in, things that you were. I'm not going to say entitled to, but
no, I think you're entitled to. Over the course of time, we've gotten a little bit more specific about rights, what rights encapsulate, right? I mean, in the Declaration of Independence, we said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This has gotten significantly more specific, although I would say that there are some omissions in the list that we're about to go through.
Sure.
And while these do not have any kind of lawful power, they, like a constitution, have actually, constitutions do have lawful power, so don't read too much into the analogy I just made. But they, like a constitution, it's like a document that we judge our actions and laws against, whether or not they
Yes.
fit with.
Exactly. These are our civil liberties. These are things, that are the backbone of what we should want in a free nation, for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
Do you want me to share the list?
Yeah, let's share it.
Let's share it. Okay, bringing it up.
All right, we're gonna go boop, add to stream, and then we're gonna make it. I don't know if I want to make it like, oh, that's me. I'm huge.
Whoa!
Where'd you go?
I'm dead.
There we go. Here we go. Ooh, I can actually read this off my screen. That's nice. I don't know if anybody else can. If they're on their phone, maybe not, but I can read it.
So
Yay,
on
me.
first glance, let me tell you one of my favorite things about this list is that there is not a single ye or thee or hast in this whole list. It's written in English. It's legible. I'm a big fan. No yees.
It's not pompous or arrogant. It is
no yees in my list.
Understandability.
And that is why when I read through these articles, I am going to use it I'm going to read it in the most down-to-earth, true American voice possible. Okay? So, do you want me to read the first article?
Yeah, let's read the first one.
All right. Article 1. Hey, we are all born free. We all have our own thoughts and ideas, and we should be treated the same way.
All right. Pretty straightforward. You get to think what you want to think, and you should still get treated like a regular person.
And it's at the start to life, which, if you read this straight up, would say, when you come out of a vagina or, a stomach cut. But, in general, when you're born, this, I'm sure that the spirit is the beginning of your life and allowing for interpretation on that. But in this, it does say born. So
it does say born.
Maybe think a little bit about that.
Make that. Yeah. Does the spirit mean conception, or does the spirit mean you have taken a breath and are out on the planet? I don't know.
I think the spirit means whenever you think the beginning of life is. I think it allows interpretation for sure. All right. Are we good to move on to the next one? That one's not really.
I think so, because I think that one's very straightforward.
That one, I think almost everyone, even dictator. Well, actually, no, not even dictator. Actually, I think there's whole countries that would disagree with that first one, but who cares? All right. All right. The rights in the UDHR belong to everyone, no matter who we are, where we're from, or whatever we believe.
Right. They're saying that this document belongs to everyone.
Yep. This is not American. This is not that. This isn't even, it does say universal. So I'm just going to say that if there were a doctrine, if we started making ships and going out to conquer other planets, this would probably be the doctrine, is this kind of universal human rights.
We're going to get places, and I'm going to say we don't even have all of these things in the United States. But
absolutely not.
I like the thought process, but yeah, I will say, so at this point, the UN has about 193 members of the, I believe, 194, 5, 6, 7 nation states that are acknowledged right now. So almost everybody is in the UN.
Yep. Almost. Wait, did Russia recently leave
the UN?
Yeah.
That I don't know. Maybe they've left the other thing, NATO. Have they left NATO?
They weren't in NATO, were they?
I don't know.
I thought they were never in NATO.
That's where NATO is the one that has the the military presence. You used to go to school on a NATO base in Belgium, the NATO base.
Okay, that was definitely not Russia was definitely not there then.
Yeah, I don't remember any Russians there.
Yeah. Um, okay, so that one, yeah, everyone. Actually, it's probably not aliens because it does say human rights.
It
So
does say human.
if you're a dog, go fuck yourself. Um,
Oh, you don't have to do that. We still love you, dog.
we still love you, dog, but you don't. I
I
don't know.
you're considered property in America if you're a
Yep.
dog.
So not all these articles apply to you. All right. Article 3. I have a feeling that this accent is going to evolve over the course of me reading all of these.
It feels fair.
That was in character. We all have the right to life and to live in freedom and safety.
I love that. We all have the right to life. Do we believe that in the United States, that we all have the right to life? The unborn do. Do the people that are already alive? No. No.
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, we have the death penalty, so there's that. But you can even move past that into, let's just talk about if you get an illness that you can't afford. Too bad. You don't have, that's your problem.
I do think that later on they kind of remark upon the idea that these rights can be taken away, but only for a good reason. And so I think that would be the argument that the death penalty is not actually out of line with this list, right?
Oh, wait, what's going on here? The UN Human Rights Council, that's a specific council. Okay, consists of 47 members and is based in Geneva. Russia joined the body in January 2021 as one of 15 countries elected by the General Assembly to serve 3-year terms. Why would you serve a term? I know that in terms of the entire UN, there are 193 members right now. The Human Rights Council, that's something different, but I do believe that is kind of what we're talking about right now. Is the Human Rights Council, or the committee, used to be the Commission of Human Rights.
Well, I can't think of any country better than Russia to make decisions on of human rights. Okay, yeah, and the right to live in freedom and safety. Okay, I mean, freedom, I think, is related to the earlier ones. Safety, is that a right to medical help? I think that's debatable.
Well, yeah, what is safety? I mean, I would think if you were the Ukraine, you probably wouldn't appreciate Russia just wandering in willy-nilly.
I think most people would argue that a human rights violation is occurring in Ukraine. I think that you're probably right about that.
Sure. Safety in the United States, do we view that on a very individual basis? Do you live in an unsafe neighborhood? What's the responsibility there for the government to assist in that manner, or even your neighbor to help you? I don't know. How would one address that? Do you have the right to safety? Gosh, I'd love to think so.
I think it's something that we strive for, but that is a difficult thing to approach, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult, but there is something we do strive for, universal access to safety. Unfortunately, the whole idea of these human rights is that they should be applied equally. And then I think there's a great argument that America does not do that, because I mean, you even see in like criminal cases of murder a huge disparity in the treatment of murder cases between impoverished communities where murder is more common and rich communities where they're more uncommon. These things are treated differently, and that I think would be in violation of the spirit of these articles.
Absolutely.
All right. Article 4. No one should be held as a slave, and no one has a right to treat anyone else as their slave.
I mean,
agreed?
I agree.
Facts.
Do we do a good job of that here? Debatable. Depends on your perspective. Paying an unfair wage and keeping people poor so that they have to keep showing up to a terrible job. Some would view that as slavery. I feel like that's a little bit of a reach, but the prison system, people that are forced to actually work while in prison, is that a form of slavery?
Yeah.
Probably.
We're unfortunately jumping back into the without reason category of these articles.
Wait, does that say without reason?
No, I think that there's a few of these articles that say that you should not be able to violate these rights without reason, right?
Oh, okay. I think there is one that does say that. Yes, we'll get there.
Well, we'll get there. Yeah, yeah. But in general, I definitely agree with the idea that our prison system involves many elements of slavery. I think that it would be a reach to say that wage labor is a version of slavery because you, in theory, have the option to leave, and that
Sure.
is one of the core tenets of slavery,
Ooh.
is not being able to.
I would say some members of the Church of Scientology are definitely slaves if they're part of Sea Org. But that's
I
they
know
have to
so
sign a
little about
million year they
Scientology.
have to
I will
sign a
just have to
1,000,000-year
agree.
contract. They won't let them escape. You have to work real hard to get out of that religion.
All right. Well, I know almost nothing about that.
Oh boy.
So, what are you gonna do? All right.
We'll move on. That's just a side note.
All right. Article 5. No one has the right to inflict torture or to subject anyone else to cruel or inhuman treatment. I mean, my question here is what about advanced interrogation methods?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not technically legal, right? Those are things that we do on the down low knowing that they're not legal
Yep.
because there is this idea that they'll work, but they notoriously don't work and statistically don't work. But I think it feels like we're doing something when we, in our own minds, look, I'm doing the work to get the information out of this person that may or may not have it.
Yep.
I know. It's terrible. Not a fan.
Not a fan. Big that so far these first 5 articles difficult to have any feeling other than agreement, right?
Right. And also feeling like, does America live up to the ideals of a free, civilized society? No,
Yep.
we're already failing. But let's continue.
Let's continue. We should all have the same level of legal protection, whoever we are and wherever in the world we are.
Ugh.
My first point of confusion is, the whole idea of these articles is that they're universal. So the need to suddenly, uh, you know, insert wherever in the world we are when we have it in other articles feels a little out of place to me. But, uh, I don't know. I respect it. I still agree. Um, the same level of legal protection. Now, very, very easy to get Colin to agree with this. Colin's been railing against this for 2 seasons of this podcast. Um, but the same level of legal protection is not at all available to us, whoever we are and wherever in the world we are. Not even close in
Not even
America.
close. Not even
Nope.
close. I
That is
mean,
one of the things where we've said, if you're rich, you can do whatever you want, basically. But
everywhere concerning all things. Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
And although we do provide, what do we call it? What do we call it?
public
Where they give
defenders.
you, yes, we give you public defenders. So there's the idea that, well, at least a lawyer is representing you, but they're not paid well. They have way too many cases on the docket, and they are definitely encouraged to make plea deals, sometimes without even having more than 3 conversations with you, or even
Yep.
one. They want to get it done. Are they working in your best interests? Not really, and
You
certainly
do
not equal.
certainly not equal. You do technically, I mean, power to, it would not have amazed me if I had been raised in America where this was not the case. So props for the fact that we do provide the right to legal counsel. And
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, courts have said that we have the right to legal counsel that behaves with our best interests at heart. But is that true in practice? No.
No.
So there's certainly one that America could improve on. Article 7. The law is the same for everyone and must treat us all equally.
Uh, no, that's not true.
Well, it's true that it should be that way.
It should be that way. The laws are not written necessarily in a way to make that untrue necessarily. I mean, I guess if I thought about it, I could find some that are, but in practice, yeah, we aren't all meted out equal. The law doesn't equally give us justice or
Yep,
punishment. It just doesn't.
it doesn't. And it's at so many different levels that this is true, right? From prosecutorial discretion to jury selection to, I mean, we've talked about this in many different areas, to the kind of defense that you have, to the subjective punishments that judges are
Yes.
allowed to give out. I mean, single crimes can be in which subjectively you're able to evaluate one as significantly more heinous than the other. That more heinous one can be punished much more lightly than the less heinous one, and there's no recourse
No.
because this is just the way that our system has been set up. So, I mean, if there's anything to rail against in America, the legal system is pretty high on that list.
Right. And it's designed to not correct itself. So if it makes a mistake, it's really hard to get that mistake corrected. It doesn't want to get corrected. You
Yep.
know? Ugh.
Ugh. Uh, Article 8, we should all have the right to legal support if we are treated unfairly. Straight up not true in America.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Only if you're accused of a crime. You're not even in civil court. You don't, if you're accused, you don't get an attorney appointed to you. It's only criminal court, right?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Yep. So, if you're poor and you have been treated unfairly, get rich, you fucking nerd. Okay. We don't care about you. So, that's rough. That is rough. Well, I mean, luckily these were written fairly recently, so we have plenty of time to work on them. Oh wait. Okay.
I mean, perspective. I mean, it's not that long ago, but it's long enough. It's long
In the
enough.
scale of the country, it's like a quarter of the time the country's existed, right? I
Oh
mean,
shoot! No,
80 years.
our country's 80 years old.
Okay, when I said a quarter of
80.
the time that our countries existed.
This is from 1948.
Okay, so 70.
Let's go with 70.
74.
Okay, 74.
Okay. How old is our country, Mom?
Well, let's see. It's 245.
So more than a quarter.
Okay.
Boom! Got math. All right. Article 9. We're close to a third of the way through the list. Article 9. Nobody should be arrested, put in prison, or sent away from our country unless there is good reason to do so.
What's a good reason?
Yep, what's a good reason? I mean, that is the debate, right? I mean, certainly some people think that, using weed is a good reason or owning weed is a good reason. And so, I mean, the nature of these things is in order for them to be future proof, you do need to be non-specific. And so a good reason is a good way of allowing you to evaluate yourself against these in the future. But it also, puts up in the air, like, what is a good reason to arrest, put in prison, or,
Absolutely.
Banish somebody. So,
It's a thinker.
But that is the point of the court system, is determining whether or not something is a good reason. So,
yeah, we'll let that one slide. We'll let it slide.
Well, it does make sense. Article 10. Everyone accused of a crime has the right to a fair and public trial, and those that try us should be independent and not influenced by others.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what we strive for. That
we strive for that. I guess
it's better than we can say for some of these other ones. We do strive for that. We do. Everyone does technically have the right to a fair and public trial, technically.
And here I am overdoing bong rips for human rights. I mean, that should be on a t-shirt as far as I'm concerned.
Bong rips for human rights?
Yes.
I bet you can find that. That would be pretty good.
Oh, That's good stuff.
That's our plan. Um, okay, so
Independent. What did we say? Where are we? 10?
yeah, I mean, I think we're theoretically thinking about jury selection here. Now,
Oh,
we have many complaints about jury selection, the fact that it's done by the two parties that have the most to gain from making it unfair.
sure.
But it is a system, and it is a system that was set up with this in mind. So points for that. It's not a perfect system, but perfect incentive structures are hard to come by.
100% hard to come by, especially with humans in the process. And you have to have humans in the process. I'd love to think that we could trust robots to make these decisions, but we 100% cannot. So
Yep.
you gotta have people making these decisions who can maybe wade through the nuance, and they're not going to get it right every time.
Yep.
But I guess yeah. I like the idea that with a jury, you're hoping to get some level of independence. I will say, I mean, a prosecutor's not independent, right? He's got the state's, in mind, that he's already decided you're guilty, and he's just here to prove it. So
I
I
mean, the
don't know if
state
that's
should
good or bad.
theoretically be independent, right?
Yeah, he should be out there looking for the truth, and if the truth is that this is not the person, he should be satisfied with that. And it seems like that's not often the case. It's like, no, I'm still 100% right, not, the jury decided, and so that's the right answer. No, it's only the jury's only right, and it's the right answer when they agree with the prosecutor. So
Yep. Yep. And they're
but
evaluated for successful prosecutions. So all of this is quite interesting.
exactly.
Unfortunate. Uh,
Unfortunately.
Everyone accused of a crime has the right to be considered innocent until they have fairly been proven to be guilty.
That's the theory.
Yeah, I mean, considered by the government, right? Because
Exactly.
I don't
I mean,
know.
that's all it can be. That's all it can be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Uh,
I think that is a principle that as a country we do hold sacred. Is it 100% true? Of course not. But I think it is something that we try. That one I think we get credit for really trying and making that really something
it
we
is
like
a
to shout about.
priority. It
Yeah.
is, and it is. I mean, people still talk about it in the way that they used to talk about free speech, right? And how important that is. And of the things in the article, it's one of the ones I'm the least passionate about, but it is still a good one.
It's
So
a good one.
good stuff.
Well, you don't have to be passionate about things that we aren't completely messing up. So
That's true. That's true. That is true. All right. Nobody has the right to enter our home, open our mail, or intrude on our families without good reason. We also have the right to be protected if someone tries to unfairly damage our reputation. Hey, Johnny Depp.
yes, Johnny Depp for sure is trying to have his reputation. He had his reputation besmirched, and he's not here for it. Amber Heard was on the stand today. I imagine she's off now, but I don't know, man. Who cares?
Someone told
It's a great
MIT about Article 12 of the human rights, when they broke into my room and threw my shit all over the place.
right. So that's a big one that we don't always do well. You are supposed to have a warrant, right?
Yep.
And that's not always the case. They find ways around it. They will stick a foot in the door. They will find a way to enter
Yep.
sometimes without permission.
It's so crazy. Well, and it's also the fact that so many things, the Supreme Court is sometimes difficult, as I'm sure we've realized recently. But the fact that the Supreme Court decided that if a door is unlocked, it is an invitation to enter is so nuts.
What?
So the police can enter your home if it is unlocked.
That's crazy. I thought the door had to be actually open, not just unlocked.
Mm.
Unlocked? That's some what's his name? Richard Ramirez shit right there. Richard Ramirez, he was the one of those serial killers back in the day in California. And he would decide who he was going to kill based on who had their door unlocked. He felt like, well, if you went to the trouble to lock your door, I guess you didn't want me in here. But if you left it open, prepare to be, raped and tortured and killed. Yippee! So that's all I'm saying. The Night Stalker. Thank you, Diamond Girl. The Night Stalker.
Fun. I have never gotten into those serial killer things as much as
Well,
it seems every woman on earth has.
I don't find them all interesting. The Night Stalker is interesting for a couple of reasons, but one of them is also how he got caught. In that, like his picture was all over the place at that point, and
Yep.
he was still up to wandering around neighborhoods looking for trouble, and he got recognized, and the entire community hunted him down in the street.
That's
So
fun.
they captured him. A community captured him. So
Good
I
stuff.
think that's pretty cool.
That we should also talk just briefly about the right to be protected if someone tries to unfairly damage our reputation. What does protected mean? I don't know. I don't even know what it would look like, if I'm being honest. Does it mean reparations in the form of, your financial losses being made up? I mean,
That's
I
the way
have,
we view it in America most of the time, I think.
that's the way we do it. But usually I have a better idea than the way that we do it. I don't know what that would look like, honestly.
Protected. That's very interesting, especially when you look at the internet and the bullying that goes on here, and then the bullying escalates to, definitely disparaging and slander and all kinds of stuff. Does
Yep.
the internet do anything remotely close to a good job of preventing that from happening? No. Is the government great at stopping it from happening? Absolutely not. They've got other things to worry about as far as they're concerned. This feels like your own problem. It's an
Yep.
interesting question.
Well, and it also codifies it says tries to unfairly damage our reputation. So with knowledge that they are being unfair, damages your reputation for the purposes of damaging your reputation. It's a lot of things that need to be fulfilled, but I am very interested in what good old Eleanor thought would be the best process for that. We should ask her.
We
Article
should.
13.
She's buried in New York City, though. So you can go see if you can
I
talk to
will
her
go.
ghost.
I'll make us a YouTube short of me going to the gravesite and being like, "What did you mean?" All right. Article 13. We all have the right to move freely within our country and to visit and leave other countries when we wish.
Okay, so this is actually the article that actually made me want to talk about this today. Was
Great.
this one? This one. So the way I even found out about this Universal Declaration of Human Rights was from your brother. He brought it up. He was telling me about Eleanor Roosevelt and this, and we went and flipped through this together. And I was like, well, that's a weird one. The right to be able to move freely. I'm like, we can't move freely. You can't just wander into, onto a military base. You can't, you can't just wander into wherever you want. That seems wrong. But in the present atmosphere, I think I understand what we're talking about here. In the United States, you should be able to cross. Your state doesn't own you. So let's say you want to have an abortion and your state won't let you. You should be able to freely move to another state and do that, and then enter back into your state, and it should be just fine, right? You didn't do anything in your state where it's illegal. You did it elsewhere. So where it wasn't illegal. If you wanted to go to a state where pot is legalized and, take a hit off of a bong for human rights, man, go ahead and do that. It's just, this is important to me right now, this particular article, because there is talks of getting women arrested who go out of their state to get an abortion. And that feels pretty messed up to me. How is that legal? I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal.
I go further. This is tapping into one of Colin's trademarked controversial opinions, which is that people shouldn't be allowed to own mountains. Mountains are, a resource that is for all people, and you should be able to go on mountains. And I find these ideas of like a beach in Puerto Rico, right? You can't own the beach in Puerto Rico. It's all protected. And so if you have private property that seals off access to the beach, you must create access to all beaches in Puerto Rico. And I mean, many rich people try to circumvent this. But the idea there, to me, is pretty sound which is this idea that there are certain resources and places that are just for all people, that
Okay.
are that no one has the power to hand down to somebody, to have put a stake in 500 years ago, say it's mine, drive other people away from it, and then hand down the rights for only a few people to enjoy some sort of a natural beauty. So uh, I've got pretty strong opinions on that. I also, there are certain countries that America aligns themselves with and who are treated as like the creme de la creme of countries, or people that we should look up to, that heavily restrict this specific right. And it's just one that I'm passionate about,
What
because
can
we're
you
all
be
put on one
specific?
planet.
What are you talking about? Who restricts your
Japan,
rights?
dude, Japan regulates your ability to go to and move freely within a country, and to I think that in a second we're about to get into the right to become a citizen of another country. Citizens that heavily regulate the ability to become a citizen and actively drive away, sometimes on ethnic bases. Really, Japan does that, because they have codified into law that Japan is for Japanese people, right?
Hmm.
So you need to really prove your worth to Japanese people in order to have the right to become a citizen or to be there for any length of time, unless you're in the military. Uh, uh,
But
I think that is a tremendous rights violation, and I've felt this way for a long time.
can you climb their mountain? Can it?
Depends on the mountain, right?
Okay, so but that was where
But you
that's
need
what
to
I
be
was.
approved to come in to climb their
Okay,
mountain.
I see what you're saying. It's not that they've locked off the mountain; it's that they've locked off the entire country and said
Yes,
you can't come in here.
it's blocking off the country. It's blocking off natural resources. Both of these annoy me. We were given an Earth, and I think that there is a certain kind of person that has this earthly desire to see places and to be places on a limited Earth, right? And the fact that you can just wall off islands and wall off, places of great natural beauty, and essentially discriminate on ethnic bases is insane.
Okay, I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. Now that I understand where you were going with that, I understand. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do the idea of being able to own a mountain, and that was kind of where you started on this one, is a little bit weird for me because we lived in Utah and people lived on mountains, right? You owned a chunk here, you owned a chunk there. There were some that you could access, right, that you could drive up and go to, but you're not going to be able to just freely access, right? You have to go through access points.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, I think that there probably are limits. I think that you might be able to own parts of a mountain, but you should establish some sort of a standard for what what amount of a place of natural beauty needs to be openly accessible. And if you own, much like when you own land in Mississippi, and a certain amount of it needs to be preserved wetlands, when
It
you own
does.
land on a mountain, does a certain amount of it need to be preserved for public access? I
Hmm.
think so.
Okay. I, I I think that's interesting. I would be willing to ponder that further. But more
I
importantly, we should be able to travel within our own country unbothered,
absolutely.
regardless of what state we are from, whether we are a woman, whether we are of a different race or religion. We should be able to cross state borders within our own country. It's
Yep.
crazy. I'm just concerned about the direction we are going in with some of these abortion laws. Okay.
I agree. Okay. If we are at risk of harm, we have the right to go to another country to seek protection. Uh,
Asylum.
Yep, asylum. This is actually a thing. So nice job, the world.
Well, I will say we didn't do a great job. I'm not sure how good of a job we're doing right now, even. I know it has changed somewhat with the changing of presidents, but, you know, I think there was this idea that people were saying they were seeking asylum when they weren't really seeking asylum, and we were scrutinizing them to such a degree that it didn't even make any sense. And so we need to do better. I mean, we do have rules about asylum that you can come here seeking asylum, but I it's real hard because do you put a limit on that? I feel like there's the desire to put a limit on that, but you've got no control of who's seeking asylum and who's in trouble, right? Who's right now? I mean, you had, you know, how many people leaving the Ukraine recently, right? And just mostly flooding into Poland because that's what's closest to flood into. And then, parts of the world all offering, okay, I'll take this many, I'll take this many, I'll take this many.
Yep.
You know, are they seeking asylum? I think the answer would be yes. Do you get to say, well, we've already accepted enough asylum seekers, no more.
Yep.
It's like you can't just leave people in limbo. It's kind of weird. In Australia, there's some weird stuff with that too, where there's been people that have been stuck on this island for years seeking asylum, but they won't really let them into the country. So they're just stuck in limbo. And it's just not right, man. It's not right. Let people in.
One thing that strikes me when we're looking at all of this is that you're constructing a somewhat delicate house of cards with all of these because they beget each other, right? I mean, theoretically, if these are universally applied, then very rarely will a citizen of a country need to seek asylum, right?
Sure.
However, the more human rights violations there are, they beget more human rights violations, right? Because there are logistical problems. In a perfect world, we would be able, countries would feel incredibly comfortable providing asylum to the limited number of people that need asylum, right? But that we have a country beneath us where huge swaths of it are wildly unsafe. Like so unsafe that it's crazy to think about. And you see the stories, and like kidnapping and murder of children is so weird common. And then we go vacation there in the like two safe places on the outside, on the coast of it. And it's like there's a massive human rights violation occurring within that country that is creating a problem that is begetting our own human rights violations. And of course, America wants to blame Mexico, and Mexico should rightly be blamed. Protect your fucking citizens.
Well, but not everybody seeking asylum. They might come through the Mexican border, but you've got South America, the entirety of South America down there. So not everybody's coming from there. Sometimes they're coming from Nicaragua. What was the other one? El Salvador.
I'm merely making a point about how human rights violations beget each other.
Right. I agree. I'm just saying it's not all Mexico. Everybody that comes through that border isn't Mexican.
Yeah, I don't know how that changes my point.
Because you said that Mexico needs to get their act together. I mean, they probably do, but I'm just saying
that doesn't mean that I think Russia's doing a great job. If I think Mexico's doing bad, Nicaragua could be doing a terrible job, right?
Okay, you're right.
Oh. Okay, all right. We have the right to be a citizen of a country, and nobody should prevent us without good reason from being a citizen of another country if we wish. Bars, dude. Bars. It needs to be easier to go to other countries. What the fuck, dude? Dude, we talk so much good shit about Canada. Fuck you, Canada. Make it easier to move there, okay? Give me a break, dude. I will move to Ottawa, the absolute butthole of Canada. I don't care. Just make it easier.
I would be curious if any country makes it easy. I feel like we live in a world now that
none of us make it easy.
Yeah, we make it all hard. There's a visa for to go almost anywhere. Yeah, it's all difficult.
It's a big stupid joke.
Yeah, moving within Europe for a while got easier if you're going from one European country to another. Some of it's gotten difficult again. And then, of course, COVID happened and people felt like they needed to lock stuff down. And we really kind of did that in a real half-assed manner. So it was sort of pointless. So.
It's so ridiculous how hard it is to move between countries. And it's just God, I just want to, why make this so fucking hard?
Yeah. Why can't I just be a citizen? Why won't you let me? Just let me.
I'm cool. I'm a cool guy. Goodness gracious. It's just so stupid. So yeah. Nope. Can't even go to Canada to visit now without a passport. I did a couple years ago without a passport, and then I tried to get back in, and that was a lot of fun. Uh, so whoopsie daisy on that one. What are you gonna do? All
Why
right.
did why did you do that? Why did you go into Canada without a passport? You have a passport.
Have you ever have you ever been a really big idiot in your life?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I guess importantly, I actually did have a passport. I went with four other guys. We were going to a Chance the Rapper concert. This was when I drove through Holly, New York.
Oh, cool.
Um, we were going to a Chance the Rapper concert, and we went to go see Niagara Falls, and then we went to go get poutine on the Canada side. So all of this risk was taken for poutine. Um,
I mean, that's a good
and
reason.
and we had two of us had passports, two of us didn't, and so we looked up online, and this was the mistake. We looked up, um, can you get into Canada without a passport? And for some reason, we thought it would be like, of course we want to get back. So why wouldn't the internet say you can get in but you can't get out, right? So when it said, of course you can, I said, Picture Keen, very nice. We got in, super nice dude, super nice guy. You know, oh, hi guys, what you guys doing? And we said, oh, we're just coming over to get some poutine. We get two of us gave him passports, two of us gave him driver's license. He said, go on through. Didn't say shit to us about getting back in. We went, we got poutine. It was overpriced, and we saw Niagara Falls from the other side. It's the same, and drove back to the American border, and just starry eyed and smiles gave those documents over. Boy, if we did not get so much hell from that border agent who was like, who are these dumbasses? And then as we were explaining ourselves, I think that we've seemed so uniquely American in our ineptitude that he was like, well, I'm going to hate myself for this, but I'm going to let you through.
Your
So, yeah.
ineptitude, uniquely American in your ineptitude.
Yep.
Where's the lie?
So, so it all worked out, but it was not a good move. And
No.
and yeah, I'll tell you more of that story when I'm not being recorded. Okay. Um,
Okay.
should I move on to Article 16?
Sure, 16.
I'm going to go back to the accent. I know you guys were all missing the accent. It's not grating at all. Article 16. We should have the right to marry and have a family as soon as we're legally old enough. Our ethnicity, nationality, and religion should not stop us from being able to do this. Men and women have the same rights when they are married and also when they are separated. We should never be forced to marry. The government has a responsibility to protect us and our family. So,
This
you
is,
know, a little bit heteronormative, maybe.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's the part of it that says that you shouldn't be forced to get married either. So I think that's important. I think there's some speculation that Eleanor Roosevelt was, that she liked women. Um, good on her, right? Was she forced to get married? No. I think she did have a real love for old Franklin Delano. They were fifth cousins. They both had the last name Roosevelt. That was her last name, regardless. So that's a little bit weird, but fifth cousins pretty far away.
Yeah, fifth cousin's pretty far away. You know,
Yeah, it's
still a
pretty
little
far.
weird.
It's a little weird, but it's still pretty far away. Oh, do you want to know who gave her away though? The president gave her away, which was the other Roosevelt. What's his name? Not
Franklin?
Franklin. No,
Oh,
Franklin is who she married. Uh,
Teddy?
yes, Teddy Roosevelt gave her away on St. Patrick's Day. But that's a side distraction. I'm just saying I wouldn't just assume that this is heteronormative. I think she's saying women should have rights outside of men because for a long time women couldn't own property. They couldn't use the bank. They couldn't do anything without their husband's permission.
Yep.
And you should be able to do that whether you're married or not married, whether you're separated. You shouldn't be forced to get married. I think this is good stuff. I don't think that it is, and also it addresses regardless of what ethnicity and nationality you are, which I think is also important because depending. You weren't always allowed to mix races back in the day. And I think there's some people that would like to go back to those times right now on our planet in America, want to roll that back, which is why
Yep.
people are cuckoo. So I think I like this one.
I like it, and with that context, I'm rereading it, and it doesn't say men and women married have the same marriage when they're married to each other. So it is actually a little bit open ended in a very 1940s kind of way.
Exactly. It's like this is as close as I can get to saying what I really want to say.
It feels like my mom and her roommate, that kind of energy.
I don't know what that
We're,
means, but I'm gonna.
in New Girl when Schmidt's mom is 100% definitely a lesbian, but
Oh,
he keeps saying that this woman is her roommate.
okay.
That's the vibe. Um, there's also there's like an old myth in which Sappho and someone else were definitely lovers. All the context says they were lovers, and then there was an article written about it, and they said Sappho and her friend, and
Oh,
it's this like lesbian denialism
okay.
thing.
Okay. I
Um, anyway,
yes.
it's a good
I think
time.
there's a lot of that around Eleanor Roosevelt as well because while she did love her husband, she did not enjoy having sex with him. He also had several mistresses, and that's why she was so active in human rights things because her husband was busy with other women, so she could focus on what she wanted to do. And so she did have many female friends, and it was often speculated. And I did read something on Wikipedia that made me laugh because it said she had a good understanding of lesbianism, and I've never thought of being a lesbian as an ism. So, so
Do you
that
know
made
what
me
that
laugh.
reminds me of? That this sick first lady goss. Do you remember? Do you remember what came out about Reagan's wife like 6 months ago?
No, what I miss? What's going on with Nancy? Tell me
It
about
was like,
Nancy.
yeah, Nancy Reagan. Well, Nancy Reagan was involved in Hollywood before as well, right? And
Oh,
there were some
yes.
some old
Okay,
some
I know what
I
you're
don't know if
talking
it was a
about.
diary or something, but it was like old writings of some individuals in Hollywood, and it recognized Nancy Reagan's it recognized Nancy Reagan's
I think I know.
aptitude for sucking dick.
That's
So
yes. I do remember that. Yes,
and
she was
so
well regarded
she
with
was
her
well regarded
fellatio
as
skills.
a talented fellator. Yeah,
Fellator. Is that the word? Fellator. Okay.
it's a word on this podcast. Let me tell you.
Okay.
So, dude, so many.
Nancy Fellator Reagan.
I just remember. I mean, there's a lot of Reagan hatred on my TikTok, and so when that came out, so many dudes being just talking about like, I sure did hate Reagan, but you gotta love Nancy for being having a PhD in Gluck Gluck 5000. So,
Yikes. Terrible. Terrible.
oh, Nancy. All right, article next article. Um, Article 17.
Okay.
Everyone has a right to their own. Well, no, Jesus, I'll go back. Everyone has the right to own property, and no one has the right to take this away from us without a fair reason.
A fair reason. What does that mean? You didn't pay your bills? I think it means that mostly. Uh, what I don't know another fair reason. I guess if you were using if they were ill-gotten goods, if you you were we've decided that you can't be a purveyor of drugs, and so if you have purchased your mansion with drug money, I guess that's considered a good reason.
Yeah, I feel like it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think we do an okay job. We do an okay job. I'm not going to say
Yeah,
we
that's
do a
right.
100, but we do all right.
Well, you know what we don't do well is police seizures of assets for ongoing trials. Uh,
Oh, you're right.
that these things that are seized for criminal cases, they can essentially seize with impunity and keep it for extended periods of time. So, including money, significant amounts of money, they can just say that it indicates like a relationship with the drug trade and just take your entire life
Yep.
savings away from you. So, good times with that.
I'm also
Um,
not afraid of tow. I'm not a fan of tow trucks. I also think they're a little bit much. It's like,
They're a bit much.
yeah, and you're stuck. You've got no real recourse because your bill's going to keep growing and you're not going to have your car. So
Yep.
it's a racket.
It's a racket. Fuck 'em. Uh, Article 18. Everyone has the freedom to think or believe what they want, including the right to religious belief. We have the right to change our beliefs and or religion at any time, and the right to publicly or privately practice our chosen religion alone or with others.
Publicly practice. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, it does bring up the question of like what is truly religious,
Sure.
because there are certainly bounds to that right that I don't think this program's in. However, I am a fan of, like Pastafarianism, for example, used this as and its existence in our Constitution as a way of making it so that the DMV cannot force you to take a colander off of your head when you take a DMV photo.
Oh, I like that. Force.
Yep.
Criddle's got the jokes, man.
Griddle's really coming at it with them.
uh,
Uh,
so they can't make you take your colander off your head?
Nope, because it's religious garb.
Fascinating.
And
Okay,
you have the right to wear religious garb in your DMV photo. And a colander is a Pastafarian religious garb. So, good stuff. Hey, could you not commit terrorist acts over there during my podcast?
She's just throwing utensils.
Building a bomb. Next one. Everyone has the right to their own opinions and to be able to express them freely. We should have the right to share our ideas with who we want and in whichever way we choose.
So here's my problem with this one. I have a slight problem with it. And it is we should have the right to share our ideas with who we want. Well, what if that person doesn't want to be accosted by your terrible ideas? Do you have the right to shut them up? Because, I mean, isn't that what we see happening, with Twitter when they remove people and they ban people? They're saying, man, we don't want to listen to your blah, blah, blah over here. Go find somewhere else to do that. We don't want to be accosted by your free speech because, in America, that's not the way we view free speech. Not legally. That's not the way. So, yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a problem if I get on an airplane and some lady wants to, bitch and moan about, pick a topic. Masks, alcohol, presidents. I didn't get on the airplane to listen to that. I got on the airplane to go to my destination. I don't want to hear it. So I have a little bit of a problem with the wording on that one, just because it says, in whatever way I want, whenever I want, I have the right to share how I feel. No, go away.
I have got an airplane story for you, but we also have so many more articles to go.
Do you have a time limit? You need to be done at a strict time, or can we wander around with your?
We can wander around. All right, here's the airplane story, boys and girls. I just came back from an event in Boston, and my flight was delayed 3 hours, which was not awesome because the original takeoff time was 10 p.m. So we were all pretty grumpy at 1 a.m. Then we got delayed on the tarmac because they misfiled our flight plan. So we got delayed there. Then we got into the air, and it was raining and thundering. The turbulence was the kind of turbulence where like the lights are turning on and off during it, and you could hear people going, letting little tiny freakouts out of their mouth. So it's a pretty good turbulence.
Okay.
And in the middle of this, and I will freely admit, I don't deal with turbulence very well. So I'm latched onto the chair. In the middle of this, the pilot comes on with a shaky voice, which is always good. Comes on with a shaky voice, and there's no editorializing that happens here. I'm going to say exactly what the pilot says. During the pilot comes on and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. That's how he starts it. So the whole plane is like, we're about to be the not a miracle on a Hudson. Okay, we are all about to die. This is it. This is the whole thing. This is, and we're looking at each other and it's like, I don't want to die with these fucking losers, right? So not a good time. I'll just come out and say it. LaGuardia Airport is closed, so we're not able to land.
So you're
Okay.
like, okay.
So many different things, right? One, don't say what you said, dude. Don't say that to us during the turbulence. Not good. Not what I'm about. Fucking what? And then he says the LaGuardia thing, and he explains why LaGuardia is closed for a minute. And this is a 38-minute flight, right? So we don't know if we're going back to Boston. We don't know. Are we over Connecticut? Are we over Rhode Island? This is a tiny, tiny flight. So where are we going? Explains why LaGuardia is closed for a minute, and then says, so we'll be landing at JFK.
Why'd you scare me, bro?
Start it with that. Say, ladies and gentlemen, we're landing at JFK because LaGuardia is closed, and then do your diatribe. But just give us the information first, because we all thought we were going to die. And so that's the main part of the airplane story. Then he assured us that he would pay for our ride shares back to our homes, because obviously we had planned to come from a closer by airport. I mean, it was like 2 a.m. at this point. Then then we get out and there's only one gate agent that's giving people their vouchers for the ride share. So that took 30 minutes. Then they say to call the ride share service, and if there's not a taxi available, then you can just get an Uber and Delta will comp it. But then when I call them, they say it's a 30-minute wait. So I say the Uber thing and they're like, I don't know anything about that. And they hang up on me. And so then I have to meet a gate agent at the departures level, and they say, no, we don't do that. You have to wait for your ride share. And then I got in a ride share with 4 other people who all independently went to Juilliard to play piano. And none of them recognized each other. They started talking, and everyone, one by one, realized they went to Juilliard. So then they looked at me, and I was like, I went to MIT. So it was just a very weird night for Colin. Not the best. I got home at like 4:30 a.m. I might be exaggerating. It was late.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was a good time. That was my Monday. Back to human rights, maybe.
Okay, human rights. Yeah, I don't like listening. I don't like being forced to listen to people that I don't want to, just because they want to freely express themselves. Okay.
Is that why you blocked somebody? So
yes.
All right. All right. I kind of agree with you. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. I think that everyone should have the right to say things, and everyone else should have the right to walk away from the things that are being said. Right. And if you are stuck with people, I think that there are limits to what you are allowed to say. Man, train cars, dude. On the MTA, people just want to say stuff when you're between the longest gap of 2 stops. They're like, now's when I'm going to start the race war. And I'm like, hey, don't start the race war. Start the race war between 34th and 42nd, because I can get off in 30 seconds. No. You wait until 59th, and then I got to wait till 125th. That's 10 minutes, baby. A lot can happen in 10 minutes. All right.
But we'll talk about that another day.
We should all have the right to form groups and organize peaceful meetings. Nobody should be forced to belong to a group if they don't want to. Yep. Big facts.
Yep. And you can see where this one came out of, since this was right after World War II. This was people that were being forced to join the Nazis or the junior Nazis. I can't remember what they were called. I'm going to call them the junior Nazis.
Hitler's Youth.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you don't want to be. They were forced. There was no choice. You had to believe whether you wanted to believe or not, and you shouldn't be forced. I agree.
Big facts.
Yep.
Bars. All right, that one's easy.
Thank you, Criddle.
We all have the right to take part in our country's political affairs, either by freely choosing politicians to represent us or by belonging to the government ourselves. Government should be voted for by the public on a regular basis, and every person's individual vote should be secret. Every individual vote should be worth the same.
Oh, worth the
Just like
same.
in our country, right, everyone?
Are they worth the same here? Wait, no, they're not worth the same here, right? We have
No.
the old, my favorite thing, the old
Electoral
college,
college.
the electoral college. I'm like the college thing. What's it called? The electoral
College of
college.
Electoral.
The
Yes.
college of dumbness. Yes, I do
Yep.
not like it. We are not equal in that regard. Some people say it is to balance the fact that people in bigger states with bigger cities, they're the ones that are making all the decisions. I say that that is 100% a bullshit. The
Yeah.
idea,
All the huge cities, all the huge cities that existed in the 1790s. How about you come over here and you go fuck yourself? That is not, everywhere was rural. Manhattan was rural when this was made. Okay.
what?
We all
This is
know why the
1948.
Electoral
Oh, you
College
mean the
happened.
electoral college? Oh, the electoral college. Okay.
The Electoral
Uh,
College was made to appease the states in the beginning, to appease the states who wanted individual countryhood. So we wanted a republic of the states. And it was made because you could not transport all of the votes to a single place to be voted. So you needed to send delegates to translate the results of a vote in individual territories. That's the only reason it happened. So give me a break, you nerds.
Yes, it's ridiculous. People in Iowa should not have their vote should not be more valuable than somebody in the state of New York just because they live in different places. Everybody in New York does not all vote the same. New York City and New York State are different things. They do not all vote the same. We should
Also,
not
Staten
treat them
Island's
as if they
Republican.
do. Huh?
Staten Island, New York City, Staten Island's Republican.
Yeah.
So even New York City, a little Republican. What are you gonna
Yeah,
do? What are you
the
gonna do?
rural area I grew up in New York, pretty Republican. You know, it's like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that everybody everywhere, because of what state they are in, votes the same.
It's
Everybody in
totally
Mississippi doesn't vote red, but because we have an electoral college, if you vote blue, you have very little incentive to vote because you feel like you're outnumbered. But if
yep.
everybody's vote is equal, then it's equal. We throw the electoral college out. Individual people vote, and we all actually feel like our vote meant something. Why do I
I,
keep living in red states as a blue person?
I don't know. Let me tell you,
But I
it's slightly
keep
more
doing
fun to live in the blue ones. Just from my experience.
it.
It, there are downsides. I will throw it out there. There are downsides, but it is better than Utah. So yeah, the electoral college is bullshit. I wish that the Democrats would do
Anything?
for the electoral college what Republicans have done for the last 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. Okay, there's a
Yes.
massive injustice happening in the in all of our voting, in the lack of term limits, in lobbying, in the electoral college, in the fact that it is winner take all for the presidency. All of these things are terrible ways of running a democracy. And if you are literally the Democratic Party, if you are all about free and fair elections, you should be doing everything in your power, just or unjust, to make things just, okay? Be Batman. Be Batman. That's what I have to say to the Democratic Party. Be Batman.
Yeah.
God,
Be a vigilante, baby.
be a vigilante,
Get it
baby.
done. Do what you got to do. Do the hard things to make the good change.
Article 22. The society we live in should help every person develop to their best ability through access to work, involvement in cultural activity, and the right to social welfare. Every person in society should have the freedom to develop their personality with the support of the resources available in that country.
That sounds nice.
That does sound nice, right? Like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like a little flower of an article.
You know, culture, art, work.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
it sounds like a nice, well-rounded life. You
Society,
know,
a fully functioning community society. Beautiful. Love it.
involvement in cultural activity. Hell yeah, dog.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it. Do it. Do it.
Let's do it. All right. Article 23. We all have the right to employment, to be free to choose our work, and to be paid a fair salary that allows us to live and support our family. Everyone who does the same work should have the right to equal pay without discrimination. We have the right to come together and form trade union groups and defend our interests as workers.
Yes. We should have the right to form union groups. You know, I guess unless you are Amazon or one of those people that makes coffee. What do you call it? Starbucks.
Hey, hey, Mom, I don't mean to interrupt, but Dad says to check your texts.
Oh, I thought I could just ignore him. I know you're probably live, but I can't walk the aisle here much longer. Just get them both. Oh wait, which one do I want? Either, both. Give me both.
So
There
what's
you go.
happening?
I sent him to the store. He's in Mobile because I don't want to tell you why he's in Mobile. It's a long story. But I'm like, hey, while you're there, can you stop at this place and get some of these glasses that are very similar pattern to the one that I made, right? I'm like, let's get some more because then they will match. And so he's standing in the aisle and there's like several different designs that are similar. I'm like, just get them all. Just get them all.
Well, I want to let you know that he texted Ellie to have Ellie come nudge me to tell you. So this has been a family affair. What's happened over here?
I think that's pretty impressive on his part.
That man has some real ingenuity. It's like, are you in the apartment with Colin? That's awesome. All right.
You get him to tell his mother to look at her texts so that I know.
Sorry to our viewers. That's life. All right. All right.
What are we talking about?
Wait.
Right to employment.
Right to employment. Yep.
To be paid a living wage that will support your family. That's a novel concept.
Well, but what if the work doesn't deserve it, right? What if it doesn't deserve it? It is so funny, that thought process, because it touches your I think it resonates with a lot of people, actually. This idea that certain kinds of work, because it's unskilled, right? Because you can learn it on the job or whatever, doesn't deserve a living wage. But I mean, the next step of that, you either have to think that this is a job only for people that are being supported by their family. So it's like 16-year-olds, right? In which case you need to only need enough workers as that body of people can fill, or you just don't think that job should exist, right? Because people need to work it, right? Do you not want people to get your coffee, man? Because I do. Yeah. I don't like making coffee, and I love Dunkin'. I just love it. They've got a cornbread donut now. That was made for me. They looked at me.
That sounds delicious.
They saw me coming in, and they're like, this dude likes sweet things, but just wants it to be a little more savory. And they were right. So, I absolutely want the person who gives me my cornbread donut and my large iced coffee with 5 skim milk to be paid a living wage, because I want the job to exist. Give me a break, man.
No, I agree with you. I mean, just because something is unskilled, it doesn't mean that it's easy, that it isn't using your time. Why is this person's time not valuable just because they're doing something unskilled? Unskilled does not mean easy. It usually means physically laborious, right? You're not, you might not have to work your brain so hard. You have to work your body hard. And so that is worth something. It's all worth something. People's time is valuable. The idea that what somebody is doing isn't worth feeding their family is ridiculous. That they should have to work 2 and 3 jobs is ridiculous. I've done a lot of unskilled jobs. They are difficult.
Oh, yeah. I've done a few skilled jobs. They are not as hard as Applebee's. Applebee's, I mean, I enjoyed the people, right? But kind of sucks. And it is a little bit both brain and, walking around and doing things, because you got to deal with these nightmare people, these nightmare Applebee's people. Which is not all of them. I mean, I love Applebee's and I'm great, but man, some of these people that go into it's just the worst. Yes, it's completely crazy to me how many people believe that certain jobs don't need a living wage, but I think it's just the result of people not thinking for 5 extra seconds.
Yeah, think for 5 extra seconds, and they're just afraid that they're going to lose their money, right? If we start paying these unskilled jobs so much, but mine's skilled. Why that money's not going to trickle up to me. I'm not going to, get a raise commensurate with that distance that I currently had with your minimum wage job. I want that extra money. It's like, well, take that up with somebody else. That doesn't mean that the person who's doing the unskilled work shouldn't get paid for it, shouldn't be
Yep.
able to support their family. There's no way he's ever going to get more skills or afford to go to college if he can't even afford to survive. It's
Yep.
it's just a messed up way of thinking that has been very much part of our American culture for a while. Not always. There was a time where somebody flipping burgers could afford to support his family on that. I don't know exactly when the shift happened. We should maybe find out, but there was a point where a shift happened, and
Slowly. Yeah.
we stopped, recognizing that all work is work. It's work. It's not fun. It's not, it's work.
Again, there is cause for optimism in this because I mean, we saw just in Owen, right, who's 5 years younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
that his whole generation is questioning this idea that the best jobs or the only valuable jobs are ones that you can get through a degree. Now, Owen
Mm-hmm.
did go to college and is currently going to college, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a good decision for him. But I think that there is a new thought that is really an old thought, which is that jobs that are needed are good jobs, right?
Yes.
Jobs that need to be done are good jobs. And there's nothing, better about being an HR manager at freaking Tesco than being a plumber or an electrician.
Exactly.
Frankly, both those jobs are hella useful and HR sucks. So
HR sucks.
HR, they're so annoying. So, you know, I'm not really taking that hard of a,
No, but it was a conversation that was definitely had, and he's one of those people that you know top of his class like you were, and had no difficulty getting into college, right? But he was still questioning it, and that was with us saying, you know, money isn't the issue. We can afford for you to go to college, so don't even let that be a factor. He's like, but does it make sense? Does this make sense? When it's like, well, since you don't have any backup plan right now, how about you just go to college until you know what you want to do, which is an interesting and what's the word? Sort of a luxurious idea, isn't it? The idea that, well, just go to college until you have a real plan.
I do think that's what most people do in college, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that is what, for a lot of people, not necessarily the people I went to school with, because the people that I went to school with either had very big dreams or they have rich parents that know the process. And so they knew what they were doing and the process immediately. And
Right.
there should be class on it. But yeah, no, I think that is for the most part how people do college and like state colleges and things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. If you're a middle class person, that's hopefully the way that you approach it. But yeah, that's not the way everybody approaches it because they don't have the ability or the knowledge of how to get through that door if they don't have money and stuff like that. So
absolutely. So I'm going to move on to the next one, but I think it's connected.
okay.
Is everyone has the right to rest and leisure time. There should be limits on working hours, and people should be able to take holidays with pay. Okay, interesting. The right to paid holidays. I do find that interesting. Um, this gets to an idea that I am very passionate about, which is that as society and our economy improve, right, the potential for a good and like diverse life in terms of what you're doing in your life increases for all people because theoretically there's a larger pie that we're all getting a slice of. And especially with things like automation of certain jobs, we are decreasing the amount of work that needs to be done for that same pie, which is, by a different property of division, increasing the size of the pie. And what we really need, and what we really need from some of our highest government officials, is to start setting benchmarks for once we get to pie this size, work this size, we need to set benchmarks for what the standard for human life is. Because otherwise, all of the benefits of that larger pie is going to go to the people that own the automation or that own the algorithms that should be doing work for all of us, right? And I'm by no means am I arguing that somebody that has an impact that greatly improves the world should not see the fruits of their labor to some extent. But there is a limit to that. It should also lift up the world. And as we see what I think is an exponential curve of the amount of work that needs to be done for society to work the way that it does, being possibly cut in half or, cut into a quarter of what it currently is, we need to, as that happens, increase the minimum quality of life for people. And I think that this hits on that in a very 1940s way. We're still struggling for this 1940s thing.
Yeah.
Things have gotten so much better. If you work in corporate America now, you realize that jobs are just being made for the sake of jobs existing because there's nothing to do at the top. We just need to fill hours. So I don't know, man. This is we really need to set benchmarks for this because the amount of work that needs to be done outside of things like research and improvement and things that just can't be automated it's gonna drop, and we need to make sure that those people who are displaced still have a minimum quality of life that I think should be better than the average right now.
Okay, so yeah, you're talking about a minimum quality of life that, in your mind, the government provides.
That scales,
Because, yeah, right. And so the incentive to work is to move past the minimum, or to give yourself joy, or whatever. But this is also talking about your leisure time as well, and the idea that you should have free time, right? I think in America, you see people all the time bragging about working 70 hours a week, and you're like, that's not something to be bragging about. That is, you are being taken advantage of unless you literally enjoy working 70 hours a week.
You're being taken advantage of, and you are like those. If you think about the amount of work that needs to be done, there's a certain number of hours, right? You're taking more than the amount of hours that you should be taking. You're taking someone's job in a weird and ironic way.
Right.
And one of the things that we need to do is decrease the maximum hours for workers so that jobs can be dispersed over this period of time and increase the amount of leisure time that is, that is necessary.
I agree. But it's hard to even get people of my generation in particular to even take their vacation time, right? We feel guilty using the vacation time that we earned, where I feel like your generation is like, I have no loyalty to this company. I earned those hours off. Those are my hours. I'm going to take my hours off. And it's such a hard sort of, brain thing to try to figure out how to get yourself into the mindset of, I earned those hours. Those belong to me, not the company. They're not theirs, they're mine.
I am right now for the first time dealing with that kind of guilt because I work at a company where it's small enough that I directly work with the person that pays my wage, right? And so I do feel that guilt because I feel like I'm taking money literally out of his pocket. And so I need to kind of reframe my brain in that way as well. But it's a struggle. I mean, it's a struggle, especially when you're in a small business that's trying to get off the ground and just knowing the logistics of it. But it is necessary for the power dynamic of an employer and an employee. So
it is,
it's good to have codified.
And there are some companies that would rather work you more than they should, then hire more people for reasons unknown. Right? Absolutely. Everybody would be happier, more than likely, if you spread the effort around. Assuming that you could still pay your bills, right? Assuming that you didn't need to work 60 hours to pay the bills. Assuming you could pay your bills, you'd rather be working less. And so, yeah, why are you guys afraid to hire more people? Why are you so concerned with the amount of effort involved in training them? If you're not getting overworked, you're less likely to quit your job. I don't know.
Yep. I'm with you.
We could talk about this all day long.
Scotland says, what about trade jobs, trucking, electricians, trash?
Those are necessary jobs. Are you concerned about them being automated? I'm not.
What about them?
Yep. What about them?
I don't know. What about them? I mean, trucking will probably be replaced in the next 20 years, which will probably improve our supply chains, which is a good thing. But those people that will be displaced, we need to create a system for integrating them with the rest of the society and ensuring that the loss of those jobs does not collapse the way of life or the the something else, the livelihood of those that were that once relied on the profession. Um, Article 25. All right. Um, we all have the right to enough food, clothing, housing, and health care for ourselves and our families. We should have access to support if we are out of work, ill, elderly, disabled, widowed, or can't earn a living for reasons outside of our control. An expectant mother and her baby should both receive extra care and support. All children should have the same rights when they are born. This
It
feels
says
like 6 different articles, but yeah,
it really does. So the last one says when they are born, which is
again,
interesting, and before that acknowledges the rights of the mother. Interestingly, an expectant mother and her baby should both receive extra care and support. I mean, it's acknowledging both of them, which is interesting, while simultaneously saying all children should have the same rights when they are born. It's interesting. It's not outright saying one way or the other, but it does make the distinction between being born and not being born and your rights.
I have a suspicion that Eleanor Roosevelt had an opinion about abortion, um, but who knows? Uh,
Well, you know what? She had 4 kids and she didn't particularly like them. I'm not saying she didn't love them. I'm saying, raising small children was not something she enjoyed. She didn't find children interesting or enjoyable. So her mother-in-law really raised the kids. So, so I'm not sure how she felt. I'm just gonna say
that reminds me of the Louis C.K. bit about abortion, where um, he says, "I think abortion is killing babies, but I think that moms should be allowed to kill babies." I'm just whenever. It's like that's the point of a mom is like determining which men should have kids and going, there's enough of you. We don't need more of you. And yeah, let's have more of you. And then bring them in and being like, this one didn't work,
wow, that's some dark stuff right there.
It's some dark stuff. Okay. Yeah. Food, clothing, health care for ourselves and our
Healthcare.
families. Definitely agree with. Definitely with that. And I actually do think that even if we don't have it pounded into our brains, the fact that we got multiple groups to approve a bill that increased unemployment during COVID because people were not able to earn a living for reasons outside of their control. The fact that multiple groups thought that fair implies that this is somewhere needling at the back of our brain, that you at least need to be able to earn a living if you are to be expected to earn a living. And I think that's pretty good,
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it. And I really think that if we had a Democrat as a president at that point, and if we had a Democratic majority, that it wouldn't have gone over nearly as well because it would have been a socialism, right? Yep. But because a Republican was the front man of that issue, suddenly the socialist idea was okay for a little while.
Maybe we should just let Republicans have more socialist ideas and just be like, good job. Like that was your idea. Good job.
Or we should fake rail against them. Oh, man, that seems like a terrible idea. What do you mean that we really have to do it?
It's fascism. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Article 26. Everyone has the right to education. Primary schooling should be free. We should all be able to continue our studies as far as we wish. At school, we should be helped to develop our talents and be taught an understanding and a respect for everyone's human rights. We should also be taught to get on with others, whatever their ethnicity, religion, or country they come from. Our parents have the right to choose what kind of school we go to.
Why'd they throw that one in there?
I know.
So good. We were doing so good, and then they throw that last sentence in there.
That one's a little rough, I think. That one's a little bit like, I mean, maybe until, maybe put an age in there, right? Like they had an age for, or an idea of age for the marriage one. Like once you are the right age for it, like, yeah, no, that one's rough. I think that's a little bit of a strange end to an overall good article.
Yeah, you have the right to an education. You should be taught to respect other people. Uh, what else was in there? Yeah, but then also your parents get to pick. You know, I mean, maybe this made sense at some point, but right now, where parents are trying to control curriculums in some of the weirdest, most ridiculous ways, that would sort of be counter to this first part about being respectful of other people's
Yep.
existence. It's just, yeah, man, maybe she just couldn't quite predict that, or maybe she meant something different that we can't understand in modern context, but it's a little bit weird.
It's very strange. I mean, overall, it's pretty good. I think it begs the question, in a world without perfect universal human rights, how do you get along with people who don't believe in human rights or don't believe in these human rights, right? It's a question.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Certainly one that we run into in higher academia is that, I mean, there's a whole ass country whose opinion on humans is that they are too stupid. Humans in general are too stupid to be trusted with their own decisions and need the guiding hand of a government to determine what is best for them. And that
Which
ideology
country are you talking about?
kind of,
Okay,
and
that's what I thought you
so
were talking about.
and that seeps into certain people's thought processes. Now, some people come over here and they're like, the American, that this human rights idea is right, and then there are some issues with PIs, for example, that believe that humans are inherently bad and need to be piloted by a government entity, and
What do
Americans
you mean?
especially so.
What's a PI in this scenario?
It's the leader of a lab in
Okay.
academia.
Okay.
Humans are inherently bad, Americans especially so, because they have been trusted with their own decisions for too long, right? They've never been taught to accept the loving and guiding hand. And so,
The loving and guiding hand.
yeah,
Yikes.
not the best. So yeah, that is always the question is like, how do you respect someone's culture when the culture is anti-human rights?
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. I'm not going to write an article about it, but it's a challenge. Next one.
Okay, moving on. We'll just leave that there.
We'll just leave that there. It's a question. We all have the right to get involved in our community's arts, music, literature and sciences, and the benefits they bring. A little bit of a weird and structure there. If we are an artist, a musician, a writer, or a scientist, our works should be protected and we should be able to benefit from them.
Wow. She's got some
It's,
copyright on intellectual
yeah,
property going on back in the
insert a little
40s.
bit of capitalism into these articles. Oh, yes.
But it was protecting your intellectual property, which is interesting. Do you think everybody should have the right to participate in the arts? I mean, yes and no.
Yep. No?
Not everybody should get on the stage at American Idol. That's all I'm saying.
But they should have the right to.
They should have the right to audition.
Or at least just to involve in the arts. I don't think that you have the right
You're,
to involve yourself in any particular, competition or whatnot. Yeah, music, literature, sciences. Yep, very good. If we are, work should be protected, and we should be able to benefit from them. Yeah,
I
sure,
like it. I like
sure, a little bit. I think it might be worthwhile to mention like certain things that are created have such a significant value to society that there should be some sort of programmed in. If you've made something that's so valuable to society that it needs to be like freely available, the government needs to step in and like determine the distribution of this. For example, a polio vaccine, right? Um, in that case, I would love if we had written into law like, hey, you won life, right? You get a little crown. We give you a little parcel of land. And it's like a Nobel Prize, but we're going to give you $100 million. And we're like, hey, dub for you. You won life. Nice job. We're going to take your invention. You might have been able to profit more from it, but society needs the polio vaccine. And we
right.
can't rely on the next polio vaccine being discovered by somebody who is as in touch with what is right as Salk was. So, I don't know.
Oh, ooh, I like this. Here I was thinking about the internet. The internet should be for everybody. Does somebody get to own the internet?
The internet is also a good idea. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, there's a lot of debate about public town squares, and online town squares. I think, sometimes you create something so dangerous that you win life, and we're like, sorry, but we have to take away this dangerous thing from you because we can't let a megalomaniac determine who's allowed to say what.
Wait, what season was Rudy Giuliani on? Is he on the current one that I haven't seen?
Rudy Giuliani was on Masked Singer?
Man, I have not
What?
watched the current season, and I need to watch it. I was all
Oh
about.
my gosh!
What's the Alaska lady?
Was he a broken window?
A broken window. Yes, he was a broken window. A rock.
Or was he like hundreds of thousands of incarcerated black men for marijuana charges?
Ooh.
Could have been one of them. All right. Next one. We all have the right to live in a peaceful and orderly society so that these rights and freedoms can be protected and these rights can be enjoyed in all other countries around the world. Something to strive for. I like it.
Peacefully,
it's a direction.
Orderly. Yeah.
It's an arrow. We're saying we're heading over there, right? And this does feel like it was written in the era where America was like, we stand for an idea and we're going to go make that idea happen.
Forward progress, not
and
backwards.
Now we're a little bit more like, yes. Our ideas, they're hurting us.
But some things are worth protecting. And I think that's what we're finding out slowly is what are the things worth protecting? So I like it. Thumbs up.
I like it. We have duties to the community we live in that should allow us to develop as fully as possible. The law should guarantee human rights and should allow everyone to enjoy the same mutual respect.
I don't know what that's even about.
That's a little weird.
Yeah. Community, respect, duties. This is a confusing grouping of words that I'm not sure what they're getting at. Develop fully as possible? What do you mean, like live your best life? What are we talking about?
Yes, like your forward progress should not be impeded by your community, and you should not impede others within the community. We have a duty to like uphold these ideas in our own community.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with you have a duty to your community.
Yeah. Maybe we should have more duties to our community because sometimes we just let big companies come in and sort of take them over and, people have nowhere left to live and small businesses disappear.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's what they're talking about. So
No.
I want it to be confusing.
No government, group, or individual should act in a way that would destroy the rights and freedoms of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay. That would destroy the rights and freedoms of the...
Yep.
So, yeah, you shouldn't be snatching rights from people. I like it.
Yeah, stop that.
So, Putin, bad.
Hey, Putin, you stop snatching those rights.
Judge Alito, bad. I don't know. Pick somebody out. I'm sure there's other people. Bad. But, I mean, saying these things is great, but without any repercussions, it's just language and words. And that's the hard part.
It's a direction.
It's a direction. This is like a Bill of Rights almost. I mean, we're calling it a declaration. I guess we can call it a declaration of human rights. So it's not law. It doesn't hold up anywhere, but it's the groundwork. It is the cornerstone of our civil liberties right here. Eleanor Roosevelt, these 30 articles. Your face looks really weird. I'm impressed that you made it this long.
How so?
I don't know. Usually you're like, yeah, it's an hour and 5 minutes. I gotta go eat a taco.
Ellie is cooking.
Okay.
But she assured me that I have time.
No, that's
She just gave me a thumbs up.
so. How
I
do we
just
feel
feel it's
about
an hour
this?
long podcast. I don't know.
But how do we feel about this? How overall, in the current atmosphere, is it worth looking backwards at Eleanor Roosevelt and her thought process?
Absolutely. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that we need more direction. I think that we got a little bit bogged down on, in the last 3 decades or so about this idea that, well, what any other country does is fine because it's their country. It's like that. This should be the bare minimum. So we should be trying to approach the bare minimum in our own country. We should
Yeah.
use this to guide, our missions in our own country. And then in other countries that are arbitrarily and egregiously affecting these human rights, we should take just and reasonable actions to prevent that going on. I'm not saying that we should, fund a coup, which we've been known to do once or twice, but
We would never.
I think it's good to put voice to our expectations at the global stage, especially for the last 2 or 3 years where we're considered a global superpower. Just in our dying breath, let's say, hey, this is what we wanted. We tried. Now you
Yeah.
guys do it.
No, I like that. I like the idea of putting a voice to what we're about, what we as a race, as humanity should be about, because this isn't just about the United States. We're just looking at it through the lens of Americans, because that's what we are. And we're watching our own country sort of eat itself on some level. And, we have to look at it. Are we doing enough ourselves here before we start looking outward? And the answer is quite clearly no. We are in crisis. And I think that many in the Republican Party have been announcing to us that we were in crisis and that they're ready to go to war with the other half of the country, right? They are ready to have a civil war when we're all meant to be on the same team. We are all Americans meant to be on the same team, and they have been wanting a war with us. And I think, unfortunately, that we might be heading that way, and I don't like it. And I would like if there is a way we can change course and find the things that we agree on. And I would hope that we agreed on almost all of this, regardless of if you're a Democrat or a Republican or whatever direction you lean in, that most of these civil rights feel important and real regardless. Most of them.
Yeah.
Why do we want to fight each other? It's so weird. Why do we want to? I feel like some people are just obsessed with the apocalypse in a real special way, where they want it to come. They want to be the star of their own, post-apocalyptic movie, when they are not headliners. They are not smart enough,
Yeah.
interesting enough, lucky enough. Pick some adjectives that they are not. They are not those things. You guys are on the ground, dead, in the first wave because you want it so bad. I don't know.
Well, if there's a war, I would recommend not living in states including Mississippi and Montana.
Why? I might be safe here. Your dad looks like a redneck while not actually being one. No, he doesn't?
I mean, he does, but do you really want to be in the South?
I don't know. I think people just make assumptions that you're just like they are down here. So
They do the same everywhere. That's how everyone works. But
that's probably true.
which side do you want? Don't you want to be in the blue place? Come, move up.
I do kind of want to be in the blue place. I will say this place is not as what I was expecting, maybe because I'm on the coast, so it's a little more liberal on the coast, but it ain't all the way liberal by any stretch. Old Vinny the backhoe, who was clearing our land, he's a flat earther. But apparently you can't call it flat earth. It is an infinite two-dimensional plane, something I learned. So, cuckoo stuff. It also spirals at certain times of the year. That's how you get the season. This plane spirals. One would think that the act of spiraling would make a third dimension. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think he's disagreeing there's a third dimension but, you know.
Not the Earth. The Earth is a two-dimensional plane, an infinite one.
How does he explain mountains?
I don't know. I will ask your dad. Your dad had a 2-hour conversation with this man.
That sounds like him.
I know. It's crazy that he will engage with them and have these. He doesn't think satellites are real. They are not, because they can't be, right? The moon's not real.
Okay, well, he's right on that one.
The moon is just a reflection of the Earth.
Hey, Ashley Nicole's on my team. Okay, it's a 5 to 6 thing.
Wait, what does that mean?
This podcast being 5 to 6. That's what I thought too. Here I am.
We were running long because there was like 30 articles to what we were reading. So
yeah, we over dedicated.
And then we also talked about some nonsense in the middle.
Also that.
But we can wrap it up. I'm stretching it out for no reason whatsoever.
We will wrap it up. Well, thank you to all of our loyal viewers. You've been absolutely wonderful to share this beautiful gift of a day with. I hope that you learned a little bit about human rights and what they are and how they, should be. I hope that you thought a little bit. I hope that you talked to each other. I hope you loved each other. And I hope you will have a good night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us company. And now we will sing out the countdown clock. Sometimes I get see what I want to see. I'm on finances or for Christmas. Get off the and so we share that beer.
Some very good head. No, it is gold.